Next, I'd like to introduce Susan Kamil, who's at the end of the table there. She's VP Editorial Director of the Dial Press. Her first job as a department head in publishing was in 1979 when she was VP Director of Subrights at Simon & Schuster. Later, she became Associate Publisher at Simon & Schuster. In 1986, she decided to devote herself to editing full-time, acquiring books such as Gilda Radner's It's Always Something and Carrie Fisher's Postcards from the Edge. In 1987, she joined Random House as executive editor and later acquired books for the Random House imprint, Turtle Bay Books. She bought books such as A.S. Byatt's Possession and Angels and Insects. She won LMP's Editor of the Year Award in 1996. She's worked with National Book Award finalists Elizabeth McCracken, Allegra Goodman, Maria Arana. She also did Carolyn Knapp's Drinking a Love Story and to show, again, range, Sophie Kinsella's Shopaholic series. Susan.
Thank you very much, Nora, and thanks too very much for giving us the opportunity to talk about the books we love. I just thought to take a second to remind you sort of who we are at the Dial Press, which is we're a boutique imprint within the Bantam-Dell Publishing Group. So we have the best of all possible worlds, which is we can create an intimate, nurturing editorial environment for our authors, along with the sort of marketing muscle and savvy of a larger, powerful publishing group behind us. And as Nora said or suggested, our list is small and diverse and very eclectic. And many of the authors that we publish, I'm terribly grateful to have support in the past, like the authors that Nora mentioned, but also the outrageous David Schickler in Kissing in Manhattan, who's working on his new novel. And yes, we mourn very much the passing of Caroline Knapp, Drinking a Love Story. And we also publish authors like Michael Paternitti's Driving Mr. Albert and like that. And Sophie Kinsella is having a new book coming next March. It's going to be her first standalone, and it's a non-shopaholic, and it's great. And I also want to mention that I'm having a really wonderful time working on a remarkable memoir by the remarkable Sting, which I'm sure you'll be hearing about in the coming months. But with all these wonderful authors, and even in these trying economic times, I'm feeling really rather lucky, and particularly lucky today because, like Julie, I'm going to break the rules to talk about an author who may be one of the most exciting young writers I've ever had the opportunity to work with. Her name is Jennifer Vanderbes, and her book is called Easter Island, and it went on sale 2 days ago. This is the book. And I heard about Easter Island first in the normal way, from a literary agent, a kind of outrageous literary agent herself. Her name is Maxine Grofsky, and she's got exquisite taste and also is a wonderful editor. She was, in fact, the editor of the Paris Review at one time, and then came in Paris, and then came back to New York to take up a career as a literary agent. And over the years, she maintained an amazing group of authors, among them Ethan Kanan, and it was through Ethan Kanan that she first heard about Jennifer Vanderbes, who was a student of his. And so, effectively, Maxine came out of retirement, or quasi-retirement, in order to represent this young woman, a fact that she made known to every single one of us that she called the day of the auction. But I will never forget the first time I read this book. And I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of plot here, but the setup of the book was so remarkable that I feel like if there hasn't been anyone in the audience that's read it, I just want to mention it. Since the opening chapter is about the defeat of the German fleet in the Falkland Islands in World War I by the British, then the second chapter moves to 1912, a Dear John letter from a British governess to her lover in the war, basically telling him that by the time he receives the letter, she's going to have married someone else because her father died, leaving her in debt, but most importantly, leaving her the responsibility of a sibling, her younger sister, who is, I think today we'd call slightly mentally impaired. And the third chapter takes place in 1973, where a young American botanist is on a plane about to descend onto Easter Island. Now, I have to confess to you that before I read this novel, I was completely clueless about Easter Island, other than seeing those sort of great Moai statues that we've seen in National Geographic and in postcards, those really tall, scary things. But for those of you who don't know, it is in the South Pacific. It's 1,500 miles off the coast of Chile, and it is the most remote inhabited island in the world, which makes it a mecca for scientific research. So our young botanist was coming there to study the pollen on Easter Island because there has been a century mysteries about why there have been no trees there. All the islands around Easter Island have trees. The Easter Island has no trees. So that is why she's there. But she's also there to escape a very tragic marriage. It's almost inconceivable that a mature writer would be able to sort of deal with this narrative balancing act, but let alone a 27-year-old in her first novel. But I'm here to tell you that she has taken these three disparate threads and woven them into a novel that could easily be the capstone of a literary career. By interweaving these two stories of these two women, the governess and the botanist, 60 years apart, she has written a novel about love and betrayal and rage and adventure and science and academic scandal, all on 300 pages. That is just mind-blowing, I have to say. And also, the thing that I really love about her is that she is a fearless young woman, and that she tackles these great big themes in the very best possible way, which is to say, intimately, through the behavior of her characters and their passions, which I believe finally is the thing that motors great fiction. And this really is a great novel. And it's been magical really since then. I mean, starting from Jen herself, who is the nicest, kindest, most hardworking young woman that I think some of you will meet soon as she pops in and out on a little tour that she's doing for the book very soon. Then the reads in-house were totally spectacular, particularly from our sales force, who are, as you can imagine, very, very tough critics, and they fell in love with the book almost immediately, and then took it to the book-selling community, hoping to get their attention, and that they would fall in love with the book as well, and indeed they have done so. So the early response to the book from, I don't know if Mitch Kaplan is here, Elaine Petrocelli is here, but we're extremely grateful for that kind of support. It's been really, really wonderful. And from then on, we had early quotes from Robert Stone and Andrea Barrett, and 3 weeks ago they published in Britain because of Jen's schedule, and the publication there has been galvanizing. So we are poised here, and hoping that the buzz, from us and from you will move out of this room to your customers and bring this book to the audience, the very, very wide audience that I think that it deserves. And if you haven't read it, if anyone in this room hasn't read it, I really urge you to, because it's a remarkable piece of work. And the second book that I'd just like to mention, since it seems remiss, the Dow Press seems to be having a theme of science this season, is a dazzling collection by Carl Yanyema, also just on sale, who, unlike Jen, who doesn't write about what she knows, other than the fact that she was at Easter Island many times, Carl does write about what he knows. He is a researcher in robotics at MIT, and his collection is about scientists in love. And he says that he was inspired to write about this by one of his classmates at MIT, who, in answer to a class assignment, tried to come up with an equation for romance. And Carl said it liberated him completely to write about the world of science, which he has done in this collection. If you have, and since then he's won many prizes, like the Paris Review for his Fiction Award. He's won a Pushcart Prize. He's been a Best American. He's a rising star. So if you have a chance, I would recommend that you all take a peek at this. And if you want to read one story, the title story is a very cool story, and it is indeed about a mathematician who tries to diagram a failed romance. That's it for me. Thank you for everything. The title is called On the Nature of Human Romantic Interaction.
And coming in exactly on time. Not only did she manage to focus on 2 books, but you managed to slip in